Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Latif and today I'm trying to explain Atletico Madrid's set defense weaknesses in 5-3-2. When Atletico Madrid use 5-3-2 lineup in set defenses, center forwards take position between opponent's defense players and defensive midfielders, so they don't let opponent's defensive midfielders take the ball and make game comfortably. But also, after the ball goes to wing or after Atletico Madrid's center forwards close stoppers a little bit, they can't cover defensive midfielders closely. After the ball went to wing, they can't keep covering defensive midfielders closely because they don't take position between the opponent's player who has the ball in wing and defensive midfielders. They still take position closer to defensive midfielders but can't cut connections between opponent's defensive midfielders and teammates anymore. After center forwards close to opponent stoppers, they can't cover defensive midfielders closely. It's all about the distance between center forwards and defensive midfielder. For example, now, before center forwards close to stoppers, the distance between center forwards and opponent's defensive midfielders is so little, so even the ball goes to the other stopper, center forwards can accord their positions to the new situation and keep covering defensive midfielders quickly. Right center forward mates with left defensive midfielder, and left center forward mates with right defensive midfielder. When center forwards close to stoppers and left stopper pass to right stopper, now because the distance between center forwards and defensive midfielders is too much, even they shift to try to cut connections between right stopper and defensive midfielder, it's not enough to cut connections. They shifted with the same quickness as the previous situation, but this time it wasn't enough. Because the distance between center forwards and defensive midfielder was more, and this time, center forwards shifting to keep covering defensive midfielder's distance became more too. So right stopper could pass to left defensive midfielder, and right center forward couldn't cut connection between right stopper and left defensive midfielder. I want to explain this situation also with this picture. This is the first situation. Atletico Madrid's right center forward takes position to opponent's left defensive midfielder. The black line shows the distance between center forward and defensive midfielder, and as you see, it is so little. The white line shows the connection between right stopper and defensive midfielder, and the red line shows the distance that right center forward has to go to cut the connection between right stopper and defensive midfielder. And this is the second situation's picture. Right center forward close to left stopper, and this time, as you can see, the distance between center forward and defensive midfielder, the black line, was more, and this time, the distance that right center forward had to go to cut connection between right stopper and defensive midfielder, the red line, was more too. And this time, center forward couldn't cut the connection between right stopper and defensive midfielder, and the ball went to defensive midfielder. If center forwards close opponent stoppers or they aren't able to cut connections between stoppers and defensive midfielders, this time Atletico Madrid's center midfielder close to defensive midfielder who will take the ball and cover him. But the problem is, sometimes he isn't able to cover defensive midfielder. For example, if opponent's front forward is free between Atletico Madrid defense and midfield line center and any defenders are not close enough to this player, Atletico Madrid center midfielder has to cover this free player, and this time he can't cover opponent's defensive midfielder, and this time defensive midfielder can make game comfortably. If center midfielder can close to opponent's defensive midfielder quickly, they can cover defensive midfielder, but this time, a worse situation happens. When center midfielder close forward to cover defensive midfielder, naturally, because now he is closer to forward, midfield center is free for opponents, and opponents can benefit from this free space in midfield center, because Atletico Madrid's right and left center midfielders don't close to center more when center midfielder went forward. If opponent has a player in half space who helps the defensive midfielder while making game from behind, opponents can make game from this player comfortably. For example, in this situation, fullbacks are in half space to help defensive midfielders while making game. Left stopper has the ball. When he passes to right stopper, because right stopper is able to pass to left defensive midfielder, Atletico Madrid center midfielder close to left defensive midfielder. Right stopper can't pass to right defensive midfielder because Atletico Madrid's left center forward cuts the connection between right stopper and right defensive midfielder. Then right stopper passes to right back. When right back takes the ball, right defensive midfielder pulls Atletico Madrid's left center midfielder right out space. And when opening center forward close to midfield to take the ball, right back can pass to center forward. Atletico Madrid's left center midfielder couldn't realize that center forward was closing to center because center forward was in his back. And also when Open's right defensive midfielder started his movement, left center midfielder focused onto this movement. So now he can't focus on center forward's movement. So opponent could make him from the central space. When Atletico Madrid start to meet opponents more forward and with more pressure, for example in mid-block, defense line doesn't support midfield good enough. Defense line takes position in midfields behind. When midfield players go forward to press opponent players, the distance between defense and midfield lines is more. This time, opponent's forward players can find free space to take the ball and be effective in between Atletico Madrid's defense and midfield lines. Atletico Madrid defenders can't go forward by themselves, because if they go forward alone, because now the distance between midfield and defense line is too much, defense line would be broken, and opponent's forward players can use this problem to be effective. Thanks for watching this video guys. I hope this video can be beneficial for you. You can follow my Twitter and Instagram account, and also you can check my blog. May football be with you.